Well, this starts the fun part. You can watch the participant numbers go up and up. For folks who are joining us, we sort of join and let other folks come into the webinar. We're just going to take a few moments before we get officially started. It's always so nice to see folks say hello in the Q&A. You're welcome to say hello and where you're zooming in from or joining us by video. I'm seeing our numbers slow down just a bit, so I'm feeling confident that we can start to officially say hello and welcome folks to the this webinar for the Bachelor of Social Work program at Laurier. This is the fun part for us. For the panel who's with us tonight, we're all members of the program. We are faculty, staff, and students, and we're excited to spend the next 45 or so minutes with you all. And hopefully you'll leave as excited about our program as we are to be in it. So I'm going to be sort of the host and facilitator for tonight's webinar. I am an associate professor and the current interim associate dean of the Bachelor of Social Work program at Laurier. My name is Jen. You can call me Jen. We also have a panel of folks with us today who I'll introduce in just a minute. I just wanted to let folks know too, as we sort of get into the webinar, you may notice some options for how to interact with us during the webinar. There is a chat feature as well as a Q&A feature. We would like to sort of direct you, you can say Melissa there saying hello to you through the chat. If you want to direct questions to us, we'll be taking written questions tonight through the question and answer function or the chat function. We'll do our best to sort of reply to those on the fly as you think of them. We've also saved some time at the end of the presentation to answer your questions. So if you feel you have a more in-depth question or a complex question you'd like us to respond to, we do have time at the end. So please feel free to pose questions to us at any time and we'll do our best to respond. Next slide, Beatrice. This will give me a chance to introduce the amazing panel of folks we have with us tonight. So like I mentioned, we have myself here facilitating and also people who are faculty, staff, and students in our program. We'll be talking with Dr. Michelle Scope, who's an assistant professor in our program, Beatrice Leja. Do I have that right, Beatrice? Give it to me the right way.
Sorry, I had my mute on there for a moment.
That's okay.
Yeah, Beatrice Leja. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah.
Beatrice is the coordinator of our BSW field education program. We'll also be hearing from Melissa Weaver, our academic program administrator, and one of our current students, Jade Zanotto. Did I get that one right, Jade?
You did. That was
All
impressive.
Right. Thanks. I appreciate it. So I'm going to move through a little bit of sort of information about our program, things we think that are important for you to know when you're considering thinking about joining our program as a new student. And then we're going to get into some conversation and hopefully give you a chance to see some of the wonderful work we're doing in our program, the things that excite us about teaching, some of the student experiences you can expect, and kind of what your time would look like here in the program. So why don't we get started into some of the things that make our program what we believe to be fairly spectacular. Beatrice, maybe we could move to the next slide. One of the things that is certainly important to you all as new applicants, first-year applicants to a program, is our program is designed to allow you to directly enter into the social work program. So that means you'd be taking social work courses right away in your first year, and then into your second, third, and fourth years of the program. We have what's considered a GPA progression in our program. And that means once you're accepted into our program or you accept an offer admission to our program, your GPA is what keeps you moving through our program, meaning that if you're able to hit our minimum criteria for your GPA, you move along through to graduation. There are comparable schools of social work in the province and across ways that you are required to apply into the program, into a social work program, perhaps in your second or third year. But that's not the case with our program. once you accept an offer with us, you're right into the social work courses and you're off to your social work degree, hopefully in 4 years. Next slide. We also want folks to know another important thing when you're considering a social work program, especially a Bachelor of Social Work program, is that your program is accredited. And so we are an accredited program. We're an accredited social work program. Upon completion, you would receive a Bachelor of Social Work degree. And that degree means you're eligible to become a registered social worker. Our profession is regulated. It's a licensed profession, a professional program. And so it's important that you determine that any program that you're looking to is accredited if indeed you want to one day hold the title of social worker. So important to know that we are accredited as of February 1st, 2020. Next slide. This is a little snippet of what your time could look like, your 4-year layout, what your fall and winter terms would look like in terms of course enrollment, the different kinds of topics you might be covering in your social work courses. Note at the bottom of this slide, you don't need to memorize this right now, and you don't need to spend a lot of time trying to remember this. Okay, the important thing I want you to have a look at here is just the different kinds of topics that are available to you through our program. You'll notice we have courses that look at Indigenous approaches to work, work with families and children, communication and interviewing skills. There's all kinds of different opportunities to learn, not only within our social work program, but 40% of your coursework will come from other electives, from other disciplines, like psychology, criminology, youth and children, Indigenous studies. There's lots of opportunities to balance your social work coursework with your elective coursework. Next slide. And related to that, related to your social work courses as your major coming into this program, that would be considered your major, social work, there's lots of opportunities to also complete a minor or an international placement as part of your degree. I might ask Jade a little bit later to speak to her experience doing a minor alongside of her Bachelor's of Social Work degree, but there's lots of opportunity in our program to take credits that are part of your social work degree, but also allow you to complete a minor. And like I said, though, that minor could be in a discipline such as psychology, criminology, Indigenous studies, youth and children's studies. There's lots of different opportunities to complement your social work degree with a minor in a specialized area of practice. And additionally, if you're someone who thinks you might be interested in completing some of your coursework in an international setting, we have relationships with different schools in Norway, in Ghana, Australia, different places where you can have an experience of social work coursework in a place other than Canada. Next slide. I hope the next slide's Michelle. I was just going to say, this is going to get to the good part. We thought it would be most interesting for folks to hear from the people you're going to encounter in our program. And Michelle is one of our amazing full-time faculty members. Michelle and I have been a part of this program for what feels like a very long time, but this program is very near and dear to our heart. So I'm happy to introduce you to Michelle, and we're just going to ask her a couple of questions about what it's like to be a faculty member in our program and to be a social worker who practices teaching. One of the important things to remember about us is that at one time, all of our faculty members were social workers, and now we found ourselves in the classroom teaching new and emerging practitioners. So I think maybe, Michelle, one of the first questions I might have for you is, what is it you love about teaching? What is it about the Bachelor of Social Work program that really fills your social work heart?
Thanks, Jenna. Thanks so much for the beautiful introduction. What I love about teaching is I really value taking a community approach and a relational approach to teaching. So I really value getting to know my students. And so Jade, for example, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I was able to work with you last fall and last winter, and it was so nice to get to know you over the course of a year and to get to know your ideas and your perspectives. So I really, really love getting to know students and really being able to think creatively about how do we take theory and practice, and how do we create a bridge across them? And so for me, it's all about the sense of community. And I love our team. One of my colleagues, Dr. Cameron McKenzie, who will be attending a session later today, he always refers to our team as the BSW family. And that really resonates with me, because I think we all bring a lot of passion to our work, and we all really care about each other and our students. And I do feel that students feel that they feel a sense of care and compassion through the work that we do. I think in social work, we're always thinking about how do we work with service users in a way that is socially just, in a way that we're ensuring that we are sharing power. And so really trying to model that within the classroom.
It's so the importance of bridging, Michelle, you made me think about if you might be able to provide an example of one of your favorite topics to teach and why you believe that it's important to teach that particular thing to new social workers. Like why does it matter in terms of teaching that kind of material to someone who's going out into the profession as a new social worker?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my passion projects was a new course that I developed and piloted last year. It's called Communication and Interviewing Skills. And last year it was an elective, and now I'm excited to say starting this winter, it's a required course for all second-year BSW students. And I was really passionate about creating this course because one of the things that students shared with me over the years was, what does practice look like? How do I take theory that I'm learning in the classroom and apply it? And how do I do that in a way that is meaningful, that is intentional, and how will I build my confidence when I go into my placement in third year? So the purpose of the course is really to create that bridge in second year. And it's an opportunity to be able to have some hands-on experience in the classroom. So what I'm really excited about is you're not just reading textbooks and talking about that in class, but we have something called experiential learning, where it's giving you opportunities to actively learn in the classroom. So what I do is I bring in, they're called, fancy term is standardized persons, but they're actors that are trained to act the role of service users. And what they do is they come into the classroom, and last year that was our virtual classroom in Zoom, but they'll be coming into our in-person classes this winter. And what they do is they role play a case scenario, and we give students an opportunity to role play the part of the social worker. And each student can jump in for around 10 minutes in order to practice. And I feel that it's a low stakes environment in the sense that we learn through making mistakes, we grow through that, right? So it becomes this beautiful opportunity that within the safety of the classroom, you get to have an opportunity to practice building a rapport with service user. You have an opportunity to start a first interview, to learn how to ask questions, how to summarize, thinking about our body language, so our verbal or nonverbal. And then as a class, we can also have a discussion about it and provide feedback. So, and we don't just have you jump into work, they're called simulations, but we also do other active learning to kind of slowly build up to have you build confidence over time. So that's definitely a course that I'm really passionate about, because it's giving you the skills that you need in order to begin your placement in the next year.
It's really helpful, Michelle. You made me realize too that a lot of times when we talk about social work as a profession, and I think in general, people imagine social workers as, we sit with folks, we do counseling, we do talk therapies, we do sort of advocacy, we try to help folks navigate difficult things that are happening in their lives. So to prepare them for those kind of interactions is really important. And it makes me wonder if you might want to share an example of, or a time when you were practicing social work. So not a faculty member in the classroom, but when you were out there practicing social work, what did that look like? What was some of your favorite work as a social worker out in the field?
Yeah, absolutely. And I should say Laurier has always felt like home to me, because I completed my master's in social work at Laurier around 20 years ago, as well as my PhD. But in between that, I was practicing in Toronto. I worked in mental health, both within inpatient and outpatient hospital settings, as well as in community mental health. And one of my favorite positions was working at, it's now called the LIN, the Local Health Integration Network, but at the time it was called the Toronto Central Community Care Access Center. And so I was, and that was a fancy term for most of you will know CCAC as home care. So what I did was I coordinated services for clients that were too ill to be able to access services within the community and the hospital. So what we did was we would bring the services to the home. And what I really enjoyed about that work is I was able to build long-term relationships with clients and their families. And I worked with clients on like physical medicine caseloads, but also within the mental health team. And one of the things that I did was assess what services people needed. And then really trying to take a wraparound approach in the sense of developing comprehensive plans. So we would have service providers like nurses, personal support workers, physiotherapists, occupational therapists coming in to provide service and to be able to help folks, but then also connecting people to community agencies. And the whole idea is how can we live at home in a way where we're thriving and not just surviving. And a big part of it also, it's not just talking to, as you said, Jen, it's not just about counseling piece, but linking people to resources, helping people with financial, with housing security, food security. So it really is about the instrumental supports as well. And that's so key. And I really enjoyed the work that I did in the community.
Thanks, Rochelle. I always find listening to these presentations now, I've done a few of them, and even though we've worked together for, X number of years, I always learn something new. I didn't know you did CCAC work. That's really interesting. Thank you so much. I feel like we could keep chatting forever, but I feel I want to move on so that we're able to hear from Beatrice and Melissa and Jade. So thank you so much, Michelle. It was really informative to hear about the kind of things that you're teaching and the innovative work you're doing in the classroom so students can have a sense of what to expect when they come see you in second year and in that communication and interviewing skills class.
Thanks so much,
again.
Jen. Thank you.
So Beatrice, does that mean you're up next? Yes, I anticipated correctly.
I am. That's me.
Beatrice, again, thank you so much for being with us tonight. And I think part of the reason why we're so thrilled you could join us is because field placement and field practicum opportunities in a Bachelor of Social Work program are a big part of the learning in terms of third year and fourth year. But before we have you say a little bit about what field placement is about, I'm curious to know what you did in the field as a social worker before you came to the BSW program.
Sure, no problem. Yeah. So I've worked in social work for a number of years, and I come from frontline work. So my experience really focused on child and youth mental health. I did crisis counseling. I did individual counseling. I was actually a counselor in the wellness center here on the Brantford campus at Laurier. I've also worked in employment services. I started out working at a women's shelter. So I've had a variety of work, and I've really enjoyed that. That is one of the great things about social work is you can really stretch your skills and move into different areas. And I really can't imagine doing anything else.
No, hey, I hear you. All of my degrees are in social work, and I always say social work is, kind of my home. It's where I started in my education, and it's where I've always been. So I get you. So I imagine too, Beatrice, in terms of like having that opportunity to practice a lot of different kinds of social work, lends itself well to you being a field practicum coordinator in the sense that you have a good sense of the different kinds of social work our students can be exposed to in their field practicum. So maybe you could just say a little bit about what field practicum is and what students
Sure.
can expect.
Yeah, so definitely field practicum is the time where you will get to practice what you've learned in the classroom setting. So it's your chance to put theory to practice. And what it is it gives you a really, really good chunk of time working in an agency in a social work setting where you get to try out working with certain populations, working in certain types of agencies, whether it be school, community center, healthcare, lots of different areas, and really try new things in social work and to really check out to see, kind of what you might be interested in. I know a lot of students will say that, I took this fantastic course with Michelle, for example, and I never thought about going into this area. And so based on your courses, you may decide to try out different placement agencies or different placement opportunities.
Thanks, Beatrice. And I know we all know that there's sort of an endless, kind of opportunity for field practicums in terms of the different sectors people can do their placements in. But is it possible for you to just give a quick sort of overview or some examples of the different types of placements that might be available? And again, I know you can't name them all. I think you said today in our meeting, you placed 75 students in 75 different areas today, but maybe just a general idea of what.
Sure. Yeah, so I can kind of give you a rundown of what's available. So we have healthcare placements, both in hospitals and community health centers. We have school board placements working in social work departments. We have counseling agencies. So whether they are community counseling agencies that are available for the community, we have some that are child and youth focused. We have others that are focused on addictions. We also have services, community agencies that work with certain populations. So for example, some agencies like that work with individuals with developmental challenges. Let's see what else. We have agencies that work with people that, with individuals that have been involved in corrections. We also have agencies that work with like alongside education. So it might be programming like Big Brothers and Big Sisters, where they provide support to young people in the school setting. But then we also offer not just direct practice, but then we also offer kind of behind the scenes placements as well. So students that are interested in policy work, there's some great placements at the city of Brantford doing community research, community, what's the word I'm looking for? Community organizing. There's a number of groups that do advocacy as well for children and for other groups. So it's not all just direct practice. It is definitely a variety of placements.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, and needless to say, there's an abundance of opportunity for folks to be out in the community and applying, like you said, what they're learning in the classroom. There's
something for everyone.
Great, Beatrice. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We'll keep moving along. I'm excited.
Okay.
Excuse me. I'm excited to hear from Melissa next. I believe I'm trying to anticipate our slides. Like I mentioned in our introduction, Melissa is our academic program administrator. So she's someone that all folks will be able to work with at some point during their degree with Melissa. She really is the heart of our program, and we're able to function as well as we do because Melissa keeps an eye on pretty much everything, really, but really is also very much in the role of student support. So Melissa, maybe one of the first things I'll ask you is, what are some of the things students might reach out to you for?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Jen, and welcome everyone to our session. So typically I work with students who are looking to confirm their progression in their program. As you saw the layouts a little bit earlier, they're quite strict, they're quite rigid. We offer only specific courses in specific terms. And so if there are students who need to take a leave or need a change or a reduced course load, I work one-on-one with them as well as our partners in academic advising to come up with a plan that works for you and that also allows you to complete the BSW program to the best of your ability. I'm also in touch if students need referrals to any of our really great on-campus services like the Wellness Center, Accessible Learning Center, or Learning Skills and Development. I have connections around the campus, so chances are if you have a question, I can help you find the answer.
I was just going to say, you always know the answer to everything. And if you don't, you're often able to figure out how to get students to the answer, which is always so helpful. And I always forget, Melissa, that you're an alum of Laurier Brantford.
I am, right. Yes. Not the social work program, but yes.
What was your favorite part about being a student at Laurier Brantford?
It was definitely the close-knit community. I felt that I knew all of my professors, I knew all of the staff that I interacted with. I was really close with a lot of the students in my program. I graduated from the English program, which is fairly small at Brantford. But we were alongside with the concurrent education program. We took lots of classes together. So I had lots of connections with those students as well. And it just really feels like, it's a little cliche, but it does feel like your family when you're on the Laurier Brantford campus.
I think that's a fair assessment. I would say that we are. It's hard not to be when you're a small campus, right? And I think that is the beauty of it. And I think that's real too. I didn't go to Laurier Brantford, but I also attended a smaller campus for my undergrad, and you really do feel like you're part of a smaller family. Thanks, Melissa. Was there anything I missed that you wanted to share? No?
We covered everything.
Awesome. Well, and that brings us to, I think, one of the best parts of the presentation, not that our other presenters aren't phenomenal, but Jade is one of our current students who kindly volunteered to be with us tonight to share some of her experiences as a current student. So I thought, Jade, maybe we could start off with, if you just wanted to tell us a little bit about why you chose the BSW at Laurier.
Yeah, so I felt that there were a lot of benefits to the BSW program here. It actually wasn't one of the ones that I was planning on applying to while I was going through the process in my grade 12 year. It was one of the ones that my mom was just like, take this one too. I said, okay. But then when I got to the campus, it really felt like the right place to be practicing social work. I think a big benefit in Brantford is that we're kind of built into the community there. So I didn't feel like some of the other schools where I was kind of separated and not able to integrate with all the other students as well as all the other people just in the community. And that was really great. I think another big benefit for this one was the direct entry. I know, especially now that I'm in third year, I'm really glad I made that choice because I think it would have been really stressful to try to go back and reapply now. Whereas that's kind of taken off my plate now and I'm able to focus on my classes and learning what I can instead of being stressed about making sure that's all happening as like an administrative piece.
Thanks, Jade. I think that is important because you mentioned at this point, you're a third year student now that almost at the halfway point that there is a lot on your plate. And given that you're sort of, into the halfway point, I wondered if there's any examples that you have of some of the courses you've really enjoyed or some of the concepts that you've been learning that you wanted to sort of share or explain why those have been meaningful to you.
Yeah, well, I know Michelle had already talked about the course that she did, but I was in the first section of it. We were the beginning of that program, and I found it was really helpful now starting in my third year to have a little bit of that background information because a lot of the courses now we are using a little bit of simulation in the class, just practicing with other students, and I'm going to be doing my placement soon. So kind of having a little bit of background on how to do that before actually getting to all of it this year has been really great.
That's awesome. Where are you doing your placement this term?
I actually don't know yet.
Oh, so you're still anxiously awaiting news of where you've been matched or where you'll go out.
Yeah, so me and Beatrice have been working a lot together this semester.
Awesome.
But I'm actually just kind of in the process of maybe doing it in the spring. So
that's great. Oh,
yeah.
Maybe I can take liberties as the AD and ask you what your choices were. Like, where are you hoping to go as part of your field experience?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking now that I want to do some of the places that I volunteered at in previous years. Because now after spending some time there and seeing what the social workers were doing, kind of gave me that idea. So the Six Nations Health Center seems like a really great opportunity. And I know someone there who runs the placement program and she's really great, super helpful with all my other questions about social work in general.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So maybe my last question, Jade, will have to do with, do you have any advice or suggestions to potential students that you want to offer?
I think overall, my biggest suggestion, as corny as it is just to get involved on campus. Like I know a lot of my best memories so far have been those ways that I've tried to make myself get more involved with stuff. I joined the dance team in my first year, and I thought that was a really great opportunity to meet upper year students who were not only helpful with dance, but they were really great and approachable people to kind of talk to about any other things that I had going on, since they had already been through everything. And that was really great for me.
That's actually a great suggestion, the idea of staying connected and being connected in the community. Are there any other sort of on-campus initiatives that, you know, caught your eye or things that you've been connected to as a student?
Yeah, in my first year, I found that there were a lot of help just going through the residence program. Like living in residence, I was able to meet a lot of people, and I had a really lovely Dawn who helped me through everything that I needed to do through first year, and they were really great. I think the other thing is that a lot of the professors are super approachable. So making sure that if you need help to just go to them, because they'll be happy that you showed up.
I was just going to say that's so nice to hear from a student, because we really do genuinely want you to come to us if you need anything, support, you know, problem solving, but also just to connect and say, hey, this is what I'm interested in doing in social work. You know, do you have any suggestions for what I should be putting in place? Like, we really do want to be helping you move toward the career path that is most interesting to you. So I'm glad to hear that you feel our faculty are approachable and supportive, Jade. That's great. Is there anything I missed, Jade, that you think students should know?
I think we covered a lot of the good stuff.
The best stuff already? That's
Yeah.
great.
If
Thank you
anyone
so
has
much.
any questions to ask me, though, I can talk more about whatever they want.
For sure. And offline chats with students is always the best way to get at real information. So I appreciate you offering that, Jade. Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, I suspect that this is the time where we have a little bit of time to answer any questions that folks have, and also to thank everyone who came out tonight to join us, both our panelists and folks out in the Zoom world. Thank you for joining our webinar tonight. We hope we were able to provide some more insight into our program, and like I said, share with you some of our enthusiasm for our program. And I guess I'll just ask Melissa if there were any questions we needed to attend to, either through the Q&A or through the chat.
No, there's not really anything to
And again,
address.
if for folks who are still online with us, you're welcome to put a question in the chat or in the Q&A, and we can try our best to answer that. Or you can always be in touch with Melissa or myself offline. There's a bunch of contact information listed here for you. And we can answer questions as they come. Any final thoughts or well wishes from our panel members before we sign off? Well, I just want to thank folks once again. And Melissa here has put an email address in the chat box for anyone who would like to be in touch with us. And once again, just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and hope to see you all in the near future. Good night, everyone.
Oh, Melissa, I see a question.
Absolutely. Brent, did you want to ask your question, or did you just want to type it in the chat? I think there's an option for me to allow you to speak, or if you'd just like to type it in the Q&A, I can work on answering those. There's a couple of questions coming up. Just 1 second, folks. Okay, yes, let me figure out how to let you answer or ask your question. Okay, I have allowed you to speak.
Hello, how are you doing?
Hi, Faye. Thanks for joining us.
Of course, thank you for having me. So my question was just, I know there's two like locations, like campus locations, and I just wanted to know if the same courses are available at both locations or if there's like select courses for each location.
Yeah, so specifically for the Bachelor of Social Work program, we're completely located on the Brantford campus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Our Kitchener campus is for the master's program, and the doctoral program, and our Indigenous Field of Study program are all housed at our Kitchener campus.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Melissa, should we verbally answer some of the questions? Would that help?
Sure.
Yeah. So there's a question: what are examples of career opportunities after completing this degree? Beatrice, did you want to speak to that based on your work in the field department?
Yeah, so one of the great things about social work is there's a lot of different areas that you can go into. So I think some of the more traditional social work jobs are like working in Children's Aid Society as a child advocate. There's also social work positions in school boards. There are social work positions in hospitals, but there's also many, many social work jobs in the community, whether you're doing community counseling, you might be running a program, you might be organizing a program, let's say working with individuals dealing with homelessness. So there's really a mixed bag. Like, I am a social worker and I used to do frontline work, and now I'm doing coordination. So there's the back end as well. There's a whole organizational piece that you can get into as well. So yeah. Any other questions about, just trying to see if there's anything else I can answer here.
There's a question in the chat about residence for the social work program. So we have a variety of residence buildings. We're all centrally located. So not in our building, but nearby.
One of the things about the residents as well is I don't believe that they're organized in terms of program, but there are students from certain programs that are linked with social work students. So different leadership programs on campus. So you would have access to somebody who's in the social work program if you're a social worker in first year. Good questions.
Did we answer everyone's questions? Brent, did that answer your question? Great, thank you. We'll give about 5 more minutes in case anyone else has any questions. And after 5 minutes, we'll end the session. And again, if you have any questions about the program specifically, please feel free to email bswadmin@wlu.ca. And I will do my best to answer your questions. We have a question. Is there a supplementary application? Do you need to submit any additional information? There's actually an admissions session happening Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and I can pop that information into the chat so you can register for it. And there will be folks there from admissions, like the people who will be looking at your applications. They will be there so they can help answer those questions for you.
One of the things I was going to mention as well in terms of the benefit of being in a small program is that there's not a whole lot of red tape in terms of getting support and getting questions, like your questions answered. You know, everyone, because it's a small campus, you get to know each other, you get to know your professors, but you also get to know the staff as well. So I often, students will send me questions, and I will usually always respond that day. So not a whole lot of red tape, easy to navigate for sure.
And I see there's a question in the chat about how many students will be starting in the social work program in fall 2022.
Yes, so our program is fairly small. Currently, we have about 350 students in the program in total. And each year, it really depends on the year, but we typically bring in between 90 and 100 new students. And that's just based on the various pathways. And I see another question about how competitive is the program. Our program is fairly competitive. We would consider ourselves competitive entry. Our admissions averages change by year. So again, attending that admissions session on Saturday or connecting with our admissions department would be helpful, just so you have a sense of what grades we're looking at and what averages we accept.
Do students need to register for that a Saturday morning event, or just to log on?
I think it's a registration. I just put the link in the chat, and I also think it's available on the recruitment website where you would have signed up for this session. Yes, I think it's registration only. Okay, seeing no other questions, I think we're going to officially wrap up and end the session. Thank you all for staying with us and for asking these really great questions. And have a great evening.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us.